Hello, it's Little Talks again. Have you heard about gaslighting before? Not lighting a gas cooker. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which the abuser attempts to sow doubt and confusion in their victim's mind. Typically, gaslighters are seeking to gain power and control over the person by distorting reality and forcing them to question their own judgment and intuition. So, let me give you some sign of, gaslighting behavior. The person tells a lot of lies. Gaslighter deny everything. Something would happen, everybody witnessed it, and then when you're discussing it, they will deny it that it ever happened. And then you begin to think to yourself, wait, am I okay? Maybe perhaps they were right. Maybe it didn't happen like that. That person is the gaslighter. They use the thing that you love against you. You love something, but then because they know that you love that thing, they will begin to poke a hole in maybe your capability to do that thing. So, for instance, if you love your job, they begin to say things against your job that you begin to feel like you are not good at that job. They will just talk, but I mean, their actions and words do not tally. A gaslighter can go from 0 to 100. 1 minute is saying something, and the next minute start telling you how he loves you, how you are important to them, and all that. But their words does not fit their action. That person is the gaslighter. So a gaslighter will tear a person down, he will build them back and tear them down again. This abusive pattern becomes the reality for the victim. You understand? So a gaslighter will do that. A gaslighter would instill constant confusion. It will make the victim become so desperate for clarity. So when you have somebody who does all that, please, that person is the gaslighter. You know what to do. Yapa. My name is Bussy Davis, and this is Life Stories with Bussy. City building is still selling plot of land in city gardens. Of course, you know by now that you should invest in some property. At this age and time, everybody knows how important it is to invest in properties. So give them a call at City Building. They have different properties, but for now, they're selling City Gardens 2.0, and they are waiting for you to put a call through to them. Today, I have a story. Hello, Bussy. I'm writing because people say I am overreacting over this issue, but I don't think so. I dated a young man 8 years ago, and it resulted in the birth of my lovely son, Ade. Unfortunately, my son's father died in a tragic accident 2 months after his birth. It was the most traumatic period of my life. We had plans to marry and were already planning towards it, but it never happened. His parents were staying in Lagos. I was an orphan who was raised by a wonderful auntie in court. Growing up was very tough and hard for me. My son's grandparents took me in for a while. The grandfather was a bit of a quiet old man, but the grandmother wasn't all that nice. I could tell she seemed to have a way with her children. My son's father was the first. They had 2 other children. My son is their first grandchild and is a split image of his father. My son's grandparents told me to hand him over to them when he was 1 so that they could take care of him while I finished school. But that didn't end well because it became obvious they wanted to take my son away from me. They restricted my access to my son. I had to give advance notice to see him. They took up decisions about my son, and I didn't think I needed to be told. Sometimes I would arrive in their house and they would tell me my son traveled out of the country with grandma. They changed the school. They even changed the name we called him to their own preferred name. They started teaching him to call me auntie. They even had the nerve to refer to me as auntie when I was there to visit. Now, someone can say, does that matter? He did to me. I'm his mother. Which one is auntie? Then they approached me that they would like to relocate with him because grandpa needed treatment and they will be away for a while. And I can come and visit anytime. I told them that it wouldn't happen. I was already struggling with them in Nigeria. Imagine when they get out of my sight. With the help of my lawyer friend, I was able to collect my son back. I'd gotten a job at this time. I created a life for the both of us. The first thing I put out to any man who was interested in having a relationship with me was that I had a son. I did that so that they would decide if they wanted me and my extra baggage. I met my husband and he showed so much interest in my son, buying him things and taking him out. When he proposed marriage, I told him my child will be coming with me into this marriage. He said he didn't mind. Some few months before we got married, he suggested to me that I should return Ade, my son, to his grandparents. That the boy was 6 already, and that now he knows that I am his mother, that no matter how they try, that they can never change that fact. He made it look like it was better for my son because it would be abroad and he would school there and he would be open to the good things of life. I refused flatly. I told him if my son was a problem, I'd rather take things slow. He said it was just a suggestion. We got married and started raising things like Ade's school was too expensive and we can get a cheaper school around. Initially, I disagreed because I could afford to pay my child's school fees anyway. I thought to myself, for purpose of submission, I started looking for a new school that wasn't really as expensive as the one that it was going to before. I noticed he started shouting at Ade for the most flippant things. Initially, I didn't make any fuss about it, but I realized my son started withdrawing into his shell. Ade was a happy-go-lucky child. He started cowering whenever my husband showed up and he would just walk away. My husband complained that the clothes I was buying for Ade was too expensive. He said he was a growing boy and he didn't need expensive clothes, that he would outgrow them in a short while. He wanted me to buy from one of the South African retail shops in town who sold cheap things. I laughed. I said, we don't buy our clothes from there. Why will I buy my child's clothes from there? That one, I refused. He complained about me buying a tablet, that's a device for Ade. In the heat of COVID, there was homeschooling. The boy needed one and I bought it for him. Is there a problem with that? When we were dating, he saw my baby daddy's picture one day. Like I said, Ade looks like his father. He wanted to know, my husband wanted to know if I was still in love with my late boyfriend. I told him, my boy's father was my first love and he taught me how to love, that I would always love him. He was dead and there was no need to compare the level of love. I made sure that I tried not to talk of Boy, my son's father. My husband always tried to bring it up, but I always waved it aside. Recently, I started seeing bruises on my son. When I asked the boy, he would say he fell when he was playing rough and things like that. One day, I was so sick at work, morning sickness, though I didn't know at that time. I came home without informing him. My husband runs his business from home and he uses our house as his office. So Ade was on midterm holiday then. I walked into him flogging my 7-year-old child with electricity cable. You should see the boy's body. I don't know how I lost control. I gave it to him. He said he was training the boy, that I raised a spoiled brat. I told him I had no problem with training, but beating a young boy with electricity cable was an abuse. It was at further investigation I realized that he had been beating him all this while, slapping and kicking him. All the bruises wasn't Ade playing rough. He was beating my 7-year-old son. The reason he beat him with cable was because he said the boy didn't ask for permission before he took bread from the fridge. He called it stealing. Imagine, bread! He hadn't given the boy breakfast at about 12:30. The boy said he wanted to take cereal, but my husband told him that he was not going to eat that day, that they were fasting. He was inside his office and the boy was hungry, so he took bread from the fridge. That was the stealing. I took time to speak to my husband. He said if I don't want him to discipline the boy the way he deems fit, I should take him away from our house. Take him to where? He said I should send him to his grandparents. I told him flatly that wasn't going to happen. He said it was obvious my son came first in my life. We have not been talking for a while. My son is unhappy. My friends think I'm overreacting. Some said I should send him to his grandparents. The truth is, at this point, I'm tired of this marriage because my husband is jealous of a 7-year-old boy. I am pregnant. I can't cope with all these issues at the moment. I can't allow my son go through what I went through in the hands of my auntie. My husband's family had issues with me bringing my son into this marriage, but I was clear about having a son from the beginning. I never lied about it. One of our mutual friends said she thinks my husband is threatened by the bond I have with my son, that he thinks I might still be in love with my son's father, with the way I am all over the boy. I don't get. My son is just 7. How else am I supposed to treat a 7-year-old boy? She said my husband also said whenever he sees the boy that he feels my late boyfriend is part of our relationship. Is Ade's fault just about the way any 7-year-old is? I beat him and punish him when he's naughty, but the mode of beating and leaving injuries on my child's body is the one I can't take. Do you think I'm overreacting? Should I send my son to his grandparents to save my marriage? I know they'll gladly have him. They actually still send money for his upkeep, even though I didn't ask them. This is a tough one. But I would expect that your husband should be understanding. Beating a child with an electricity cable is a no-no. You want to send your child to his grandparents. Yeah, his grandparents are ready to have him, but then it's possible that you might lose him. I also understand the fact that because you had a rough time growing up, you really do not trust anybody with your child. I get it. But in this situation, I'm really lost at what I should tell you to do. And I would like to ask the viewers, do you think that this is enough to break up this marriage? Remember, she's pregnant. But do you think she should leave this marriage and go with her son? Do you think she should send a child to his grandparents? What do you think? I kind of think that the husband is actually even exhibiting the kind of person that he is. And if you are not careful, you might even have problems in the future. And that's what I think. I don't know, but viewers, what do you think? Let's meet in the comment section and let us discuss this fully. Till next time when I come your way again, my name remains Busola Dilly Davids. Bye. Before you leave, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thank you.